Pretty much the minute it was announced that Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, and Trump's own lawyer in the past, by the way, he was going to have a private chat with the partner of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, I did a video here saying that the purpose of that was to persuade her to testify against Democrats. I specifically named Bill Clinton because, like Donald Trump, there have been pictures of him with Epstein. He was the obvious choice to go after. And look, obvious is good, because none of this so far has been subtle. Various people were saying that this was all about her getting to say that Trump wasn't involved, but that on its own would never have satisfied the conspiracy theorist base. They'd have just said there was a cover-up. What they wanted was for the target to be identified as the people they already wanted to hate. They already hated and wanted to destroy. And if only they were thrown the reddest of red meat, they would finally feel that justice had been served. Now, apparently it doesn't matter if the process of getting there is absurdly transparent and obviously corrupt, because they don't notice or mind that so much. If they did, they would have objected to a lot more things in the Trump administration 2.0 a lot sooner. Anyway, since I made that initial video analysis, I can't say anything has happened to make me think that I jumped the gun in any way. 2 days of interviews with Maxwell have taken place. We have zero record of anything that was said. Having said that none of this is subtle, let's just presume that none of this is subtle. The reason why it wasn't done the proper way, for instance with the prosecuting lawyers present, and not conducted by an agent of the president who has been personally implicated, whether rightly or wrongly, it's all because the deal that's being struck needed to be a secret one. It's been reported by Maxwell's own attorney that she answered all questions honestly, which, I mean, obviously he's going to say that. I'm not sure why you would even report it. What else is he going to say? My client is really keen not to have to serve 20 years in prison, so she's happily telling Trump's personal lawyer whatever he needs to hear to get her out. Apparently, she had 100 names put to her, and she talked frankly and truthfully about all of them. Now, it's an obvious and unadorned description of a fishing expedition, because do we believe that Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, who was promoted into a serious DOJ role by aforementioned Donald Trump, a DOJ that, unlike all that came before it, is operating as the legal wing of the presidency, do we believe that that guy floated 100 names that, included Trump himself, Trump allies or friends, or indeed Republicans, with a possible exception of the ones that have pissed Trump off? Do we believe that? Well, I don't. And since the full list of names put to her, assuming that was even the process in reality, is not public, and will never be public, obviously it can all just be denied or counterclaimed until the cows come home. Now, officially, Blanche has said that the department, quote, will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time. Well, here's a prediction for you. That additional information will not include blockbuster revelations about any Trump ally, any MAGA politician, and certainly not about Trump himself. Except perhaps Maxwell's sworn testimony that every time bad stuff was happening in one room, Donald Trump was not in that room. He was probably somewhere else reading the Bible or something. Even during the first day, as the interview was actually in progress, Trump was letting the cat out of the bag by flagging up to journalists that they should be focusing on Bill Clinton. Almost as though he'd had some foresight or premonition of what might come out of the process. I don't know, maybe he watched my video. After the second day, it started to be reported by some outlets that apparently Elon Musk is named in the documents, along with his brother Kimball, which would qualify under the heading of people that have pissed Donald Trump off. And of course, particularly poignant because it was Elon Musk posting on Twitter that Trump was in the Epstein files that arguably started this whole chain of consequences in the first place. So take that, Elon, right back at you. It's hard to imagine that Musk would have posted in the way that he has about the Epstein files if he himself had been involved in any way. The difference between the way he has been pushing for full disclosure versus Trump's hemming and hawing when he was asked if he would release the files.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
It's a pretty stark difference. One looked like someone pressing home an advantage against the other, whereas the other looked like someone who was every inch either guilty as charged or at least aware of what was documented that made him look potentially guilty to an audience of conspiracy theorists, which would be quite enough. The media has been focusing over the last day on whether Trump will pardon Ghislaine Maxwell or commute her sentence. Trump was asked whether he would, and he was less than clear in his answer, and that was taken as highly significant, although to be fair, he's less than clear in many of his answers. In any case, this is all getting ahead of itself, because the question really is how much does Maxwell have to do in order to perform a service worth the political capital that would be expended if she were to be released. The purpose of a private meeting was to sound out what she would be prepared to do. Her telling a deeply conflicted representative of what she knows about a bunch of names, that wouldn't serve Trump in the slightest. The only way it works is if certain names get identified, certain others forgotten. Supporting detail that can in some ways be corroborated with other evidence would be good as well. Evidence that Maxwell might be able to direct them towards. Then the DOJ will be able to bring prosecutions against those figures, present the evidence, and call upon Maxwell to testify in trial. At the end of that, she has earned her pardon. Of course, what if there's no evidence? Would she be prepared to testify against certain people anyway? So then the DOJ could bring the prosecution, even though it would likely fail, because Maxwell's word would not be taken as reliable witness testimony by the court or by the jury. Still, though, the spectacle will have fed the base. They will talk about it as though it was proven. But the deep state activist judges blocked justice being done, etc., etc. Now, luckily, MAGA influencers are far too wise and wily to be taken in by such deceptions. I'm kidding. Some of them have already started the necessary pivot for this, talking up the importance of focusing on Ghislaine Maxwell, promoting it as being more important as mere old documentary evidence considered so damning that its existence was completely denied. So former Trump attorney Alan Dershowitz told Fox News, she is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. MAGA influencer Benny Johnson, she is a living piece of evidence. If you're looking for the person to give you the truth about Epstein, there's no one better to give it to you. Really? We don't think there might be one or two reliability issues? Well, at least a few have known that they have to wiggle their way out of such objections. So Charlie Kirk, for instance, having noted that Ghislaine Maxwell might not be reliable on account of the whole having taken part in the sexual exploitation of underage girls thing, he nevertheless came down on the side of suggesting she would be motivated to tell the truth in return for immunity. Had this process been being carried out by the other side, you suspect he would have had less problem identifying that actually, in a private arrangement with an agent of the president, she's likely to be motivated to say whatever the president wants her to say. If it was just about the truth, then you would have conducted the interview with neutral observers, because their corroboration that there had been no shady deals would strengthen trust in what actually came out of the process. Well, at least Jack Posobiec didn't dodge that obvious conclusion. so he had to do other contortions instead. So yes, he said, Maxwell would be acting in her own interest to get out of prison. Definitely. So the Trump administration should only cooperate with her if she revealed, quote, absolutely everything. That includes receipts and names to back up the credibility of the accusation, which doesn't mean that such receipts and names are sought in the wrong places, just an acknowledgement that since this process looks immensely corrupt and dodgy, there needs to be corroborating evidence for it to take hold against the right people. Now, various others have been seeking to soften up the public image of Ghislaine Maxwell, such as Greg Kelly from Newsmax, who said that Maxwell, quote, just might be a victim. Yes. So anyway, this could still not come to anything. Maxwell could decide that the risks are too great for her to be used in this way. It could be that there's an absence of corroborating evidence and the Trump administration decides not to proceed with cases that would get thrown out with the snorts of derision from any judge worth their salt. But right now, the obvious conclusion was the Trump administration was fishing, had Bill Clinton and other enemies in his sights, and the aim is to deflect the conspiracists onto them for something to take their mind off the Epstein files as it relates to him. We don't know for a fact that is the case, but we know names have been put to Maxwell in a private meeting with immunity covering the free and frank discussion that was taking place there. We know that Trump has been trailing the name of Bill Clinton as the one to watch in his rambles with journalists. We know that suddenly it's in the public domain. However did that happen? That Elon Musk might have to be worried as well? This meme was floating around social media today. It rather sums up the nature of the process as we've been describing it today in this video. And look, it is all so obvious, so blatant, it's hard to comprehend it could ever actually work. Once Trump gets back from his golfing trip to Scotland, well, I guess it'll be time to find out.